Good evening, Canterbury. I'm Mike Yardley. Welcome to NewsMakers, where we debate the week's issues through Canterbury eyes. It's a pleasure to introduce our panel. From Canterbury University Head of Journalism Associate Professor Jim Tully, social commentator and script writer Andrew Gunn, and from the press, senior writer Martin van Beynen, who turns 150 next year. Very good to have you all aboard. We are going to start with the mayoral race, and this week's debate and ensuing coverage in the press has exposed some pretty glaring points of difference between the two frontrunners over the future of public transport. Bob Parker is very much the champion of light rail. He believes that must be progressively rolled out and integrated with the bus network. Jim Anderton says buses are the best bet because light rail is an unaffordable fantasy. Could this be a vote decider, Jim?
I don't think so. I'm old enough to remember riding on trams from Hackthorn Road to Edgware Road, to be actually, and saw the last one of that, 1952 or 53, as it came down Papanui Road. And I think trams are the answer. Trams of the kind that you see in Amsterdam and places such as that. But I don't think it's a decision. I don't think it's a vote decider. I think people will be thinking about other things, but it's an interesting discussion, mind you.
Where do you come from on this one, Andrew?
Well, I like trains, that's the thing. So I'm not a NIMBY, I'm more of a PIMBY. Please, in my backyard, yes. As I often say, Mike, when I come to conversations with you, I need some more information about this because I've heard the argument against it, which is that we don't have a lot of people and we have that sort of big circular city and we don't have any natural rail corridors. Yeah. So I'd like to know, are there any cities of comparable size, of our shape, that have made light rail work? And where are the rail corridors proposed to be? Just that sort of thing. I'd like to know more about it.
I wonder if Bob and Tony Marriott could turn the clock back. Would have they been far wiser to go to cities in North America or anywhere else that are comparable to our population size? Was that actually a really dumb move to go to mega cities?
Are you asking me, Mike?
I am, Mr. Van Beynen.
Well, I'm not 100% sure which cities they went to, but I'm sure they'd justify it by saying that in proportion Christchurch could have one of these schemes and it would be quite viable. But I've always been a bit dubious about light rail for a city the size of Christchurch. It's not that I'm not a supporter of, putting money into infrastructure, but we could commit a lot of money and a lot of time to a light rail system or even a tram system and find that when it's at its peak usefulness, the world has changed and people are not driving into the city, or they might be working from their cars or working from home. So I'd be very cautious about this whole thing, but I can't see it being a huge election issue. Although it is a nice vision, it's a nice idea.
I suppose up till now, a lot of voters seem to be suggesting that they've been struggling to actually get some really strong, nuggety points of difference, let alone real issues in this election campaign. I just wonder if public transport is the first opportunity to see some strongly contrasting differences between the two, as opposed to just the rhetoric about muffins and directors' fees and so forth.
Yes, I think Bob is obviously pitching himself as a man for the future. He's thinking ahead. He's thinking beyond, rates rises and the nuts and bolts of city administration. It's probably part of all that, I would say. Yeah.
Andrew, in terms of more information, please, do you want some hard metrics? Do you want to see the affordability argument furnished with some evidence?
Yes, and just particularly with reference to Christchurch, as I say, where do you envisage this light rail going? I would think, would there be some northern route out to Papanui and beyond? Would there be we're talking Blenheim Road and then out to the east? What exactly are we talking about and how far? It's the moment it seems to just be a slogan, light rail good. And I'd just like to know exactly what he's talking about.
One aspect to the way we get to work and home that intrigues me is, at the moment, I think I'm correct in saying more Christchurch commuters will actually bike to work than take a bus at the moment. And still they're minority groups compared to motorists. But if there is this upswing in cycling to work and home, should the focus actually be on rolling out more provision for them on the road?
Well, there should be more cycleways and much better provision for cyclists, without any doubt. In Wellington, of course, buses work better because it's hilly and it's much harder to bike. We're blessed with a flat, boring topography, but it does work in our favour for
for transport such as bikes, I agree about rapid rail. I mean, or light rail. I mean, I think it's something for a big city. I can't see it really being effective in a city this size. 15 minutes to get to the furthest point from the square? I mean, do we really need that kind of alternative?
Well, there's a vision for Jim, isn't it? The city of cycles. Although I doubt that there'd be more cyclists than bus commuters, being a bus commuter myself. But yes, I mean, that could be the way of the future, couldn't it? And showers at work so that people can get changed. Different requirements for work dress, because you'd want to be able to go around in your lycras and all that sort of stuff, wouldn't you?
Is that on the work plan for the new press office?
You bet it is. You can look forward to that.
Why do you take the bus, by the way? I mean, I know you are a very devoted bus user. Why? Why are you the exception to the rule?
Well, I'm a deeply principled person, Mike, as you know.
Yes.
And I've got an environmental conscience, and I believe that people should take public transport. And also, it's a lot cheaper than taking a car from Diamond Harbour.
Yeah. Well, there is that, I suppose.
Yeah.
I know that in the press profile on this last weekend, I think Bob Parker referred to the psychology of buses, and I just wonder if this is one of the undertones that leads people to be resistant towards using buses, and that is this sort of urban snobbery image that buses are loser cruisers. Is this a true reality in Christchurch, that perception, whether people admit to it or not, that they don't want to be seen on a bus, alive or dead? Andrew?
Yes, there is possibly that image out there. As I say, I think trains are cool. So if there was some sort of sexy, sleek, electric, low-riding, gliding train, then you'd have to be cool to travel on that.
Yeah. Do you think there is a bit of weight to this loser cruiser argument?
I don't think so. No, I think it's more a matter of... public transport depends on regularity, punctuality, cost, all those factors. I was in Timaru 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we looked at the buses there, and at peak time in the morning, there were about 9 people on 6 different buses. People aren't using it, but when you look at the prices and the regularity of the services and that, why would you?
Yeah.
We had a really good bus ride from Littleton into Christchurch a few Saturdays ago, and it was cheap and it was fun, and I didn't feel snobby about being there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you go past a big queue of cars, sitting in the bus, of course, as you go past a big queue of cars, and you also see the latest cyclist prostrate on the road. Who's the loser? That's what I would say.
We will take a break. Coming up very shortly, Winston Peters is back on the campaign stump. We'll have a look at his speech and attention that he unfurled to the good people of Rangiora earlier this week. Plenty of other matters as well. Do stay with us.